Hello and welcome to this news update from me, Jason Olborn for Jason Q Citizen. And you can catch me at Twitter at JasonQCitizen1 or jasonqcitizen.substack.com. And of course, those that have migrated over from my partnership, welcome aboard. This is a news update for Friday, the 25th of July. And there is a lot to get through in today's news. Now, we're going to get through the headlines and then I'll give you some details. So we've learned that the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Todd Blanche, has met with Ghislaine Maxwell. That has been confirmed. We've also learned that we have got Candace Owens, as we talked about yesterday, is now being sued by the Macrons. We've also found out that Emmanuel Macron has also announced that France will be supporting a Palestinian state. There has been a merger deal approved by the United States administration for Paramount to be merging there after, of course, Stephen Colbert was sacked or told that he's no longer required. The View is taking a hiatus. E-Entertainment has been axed after 34 years. Hulk Hogan has passed away at the age of 71. We've learnt the cause of death of Anne Burrell, celebrity chef. Michael McCormack from the National Party has written a scathing report on green energy in Australia and the realities facing people in his electorate. We're also going to hear a very funny clip that puts it all together in no way that Australians can do it better than this fellow. And Tony Sheldon, the Senator, has entered the fray as politics becomes the show business of ugly people. And we'll close out the show with a video from Harry Reid showing us exactly what the deep state really thinks of President Donald Trump. So let's get into the headlines for today. And we had learnt earlier that there was a headline that suggested that, in fact, the top DOJ official, Todd Blanche, would meet with Ghislaine Maxwell in Florida. Well, that has been confirmed through Todd Blanche himself saying that he has met with Ghislaine Maxwell and will continue his interview with her tomorrow. The Department of Justice will share additional information about what we have learnt at the appropriate time. So one would assume, therefore, that there is being information that is being passed on now, and people will be saying things like, well, when a bird sings, etc. Meanwhile, Mark Wayne Mullen has come out and said that he just asked for unanimous consent to pass an Epstein resolution calling for full transparency and all available files to be released. Senate Democrats objected on the floor, and he called it liberal political theatre. Well, what a big surprise, right? This is the story about what's really going on behind the scenes, and we keep wondering what is actually happening at this particular juncture. But you would have to think that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be able to introduce brand new information that all of us are waiting to hear from. Now, let's move on to probably the biggest headline of the day in relation to what's happening with France. So first of all, the first story comes out about Candace Owens and her being sued by the Macrons. Now, this is the particular document that's been propped up to show what's going on in the complaint, the Macrons versus Candace Owens. In March of 2024, Candace Owens, a right-wing podcaster, told the world she would stake her entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France, is in fact a man. Since then, Owens has used this false statement to promote her independent platform, gain notoriety, and make money. Owens disregarded all credible evidence disproving her claim in favour of platforming known conspiracy theorists and proven defamers. And rather than engage with President and Ms. Macron's attempts to set the record straight, Owens mocked them and used them as additional fodder for her frenzied fan base. Well, them's fighting words from the Macrons, and of course most people asking now, well, let's see what the discovery is going to be all about. It's a big story, of course, and Candace Owens in the frame. Now, what I find fascinating is that now Macron has announced today that he has no alternative but to announce that France will formally recognise a Palestinian state. He says he's left the world stunned with an enormous call on the Middle Eastern crisis. So The details are that he will formally recognize a Palestinian state at an upcoming United Nations General Assembly, which is a major split from the group of 7 nations as global patience runs thin over the crisis in Gaza. In a post on X, the French president said he intended to make the solemn announcement at the meeting in September, noting that there is no alternative. True to its historic commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, I've decided that France will recognise the state of Palestine, he wrote. The urgency today is to end the war in Gaza and to provide aid to the civilian population. Peace is possible. There must be an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages, and massive humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. It is also necessary to ensure the demilitarisation of Hamas, secure and rebuild Gaza. Finally, it is essential to build the state of Palestine, ensure its viability, and enable it by accepting its demilitarization and fully recognizing Israel to contribute to the security of all in the Middle East. Now, that really feels like middle ground, doesn't it? Because you've got Macron trying to elevate himself in the eyes of the international community by calling for what many people have been calling for our entire lives, the state of Palestine to be recognized. And at the same time, he's talking for peace, the return of hostages, the rebuilding of Gaza, and the recognizing of Israel in the region. So in other words, peace and a status quo. But what we've seen and heard over the last, months and in fact years is this incredible division and vitriol aimed at both sides and both parties that means that no one is coming to the table. What I find fascinating by this is the timing that Macron comes out with something that Candace Owens has been talking about for some time, of course, is defending the rights of Palestinians. And I wonder if this is some form of olive branch or if it's completely unrelated. What it does do is 2 things. It lifts Candace Owens' profile immensely around the world, whether you like her or you don't, it doesn't matter at this point. The fact is that she is now front and center, and they share a narrative which is for peace in the Middle East and a pro-Palestinian leaning at that point. So it's fascinating to watch just the same. Are they trying to make a peace deal? Are they trying to make peace? And are the Macrons really hiding big secrets? Well, Candace Owens' career is entirely staked upon it. So fascinating scenes to watch there. Now, in other news, and it's fairly big news that we're learning about what's happened here with Paramount. So there has been an approval of a merger. The Trump administration regulators have approved Skydance Media's $8 billion bid to acquire CBS News parent company Paramount. An $8 billion merger between Paramount and Skydance Media was approved by the Federal Communications Commission on Thursday, according to multiple outlets, after Skydance said it would end diversity, equity, and inclusion considerations in its hiring, promotions, development, and compensation. So some of the facts are that the FCC greenlit the transfer of local TV station outlet licenses from CBS to Skydance, which was reported by Variety, adding the deal is expected to be closed in a couple of weeks. So this is quite effective because, of course, we've seen what's happened in terms of Stephen Colbert having known that his show would be axed. And in related news back into Australia, Channel 10 has been taken over for some time by Paramount. So you wonder if this is a consolidation here, that they're trying to perhaps merge, cover debts in the decline of the mainstream media. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Australia if there are any moves in terms of Paramount being able to do something here at that level. Now, also in TV news, we've learnt today that the entertainment show E! News, which has been on air for 34 years, has been cancelled. So that's yet another show that is going down the gurgler in recent times. There are big things happening in the world of media. Now, also what I'd like to do now is to play for you the announcement, although it wasn't necessarily the official announcement, of The View going on hiatus. Take a look.
And before we go on hiatus, we only have one more show after this. I'm allowed to say that, right?
Too late now.
So it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Before we go, I wanted to tell people that the tide is turning. The tide is turning, and things are changing. I mean, the ultimate irony would be that Rupert Murdoch will take him down.
Yeah.
Fox News, who created the monster, will take him down.
Okay, Joy. I would wonder about that particular reason why they'd be going on a hiatus. I do wonder the timing of it now ahead of some of the biggest news that we've ever seen. The very fact that the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, is in the frame and has been effectively accused of treason. This is a photograph that Dan Scavino posted just today of Obama and Trump going way back to 2017. Maybe they knew then, and this is the point right then, and there's been many memes that have been shared over the years about when this is all said and done, Obama will want to retreat to Kenya. That's been one of the things that we've seen over the years. And so you look at that and you really wonder what is going on in terms of the View at this point. Are they taking a break because they don't want to be forced to report news that would go against what they've talked about for years on end ad nauseum? That Russiagate, of course, the anti-Trump rhetoric. And then if things turn around, we are in a very, very different situation for the team there at The View. So we'll watch on there as well. Now, in further entertainment news, we were shocked, I guess, today to learn that wrestling legend Hulk Hogan has died at the age of 71. You feel like Hulk Hogan's been around forever and that maybe he would have been, in fact, older than that. And you think that Rocky III, which came out, which is pretty much when he became a star, was 1983, so some 42 years ago. So Hulk Hogan in Rocky III was just 29 years of age. Extraordinary that this superstar and was beyond anything else an entertainer in the world of sport that was the WWE has passed away. Now, what we've learnt is that it was we were told that he passed away from cardiac arrest. What we weren't told was that he had a procedure called a 4-level anterior cervical discectomy, and fusion, which is a surgical procedure to relieve pain and nerve compression in the neck by removing 4 damaged discs and fusing 5 vertebrae. This more extensive surgery is typically used for conditions like degenerative disc disease and spondylosis that affect multiple levels of the cervical spine. So if you look there at that procedure, he'd undergone this only a matter of a few weeks back, and a 4-level anterior cervical discectomy and fusion. That is extremely, extremely painful and very difficult to be able to recover from. And his ex-wife had been sharing information about what he was doing in his recovery. But sadly, Hulk Hogan was not able to recover from this particular operation and has succumbed today or recently at the age of 71. And many people would be ultimately very sad by the loss of one of the people who, if you grew up in the 80s, was the ultimate entertainer. You don't get much. You don't get much better than what you see there in Hulk Hogan in superstar status. And so there will be obviously many, many videos being shared celebrating that. And of course, it is all theatre, but it's very, very important, as is everything in the world of just being able to take a break from the realities and the difficulties that we face in real life. Look, thanks everyone for taking part and watching in on today's show. This is an informal news update for those that were watching the previous news partnership that I did as we are transitioning into the new period. And I'll have some announcements for you sometime over the weekend or next week of a couple of different things that are coming up that I'm quite excited about to share with you of what we're going to do. Well, I'm going to do moving forward, and various different ways of making and forming new partnerships and lots of new interviews, etc., and across a lot of different levels. But keep in touch through the Substack is probably the best way. And another thing just to mention there, that on your transition from the old page to the Jason Q Citizen Substack, I believe I've processed most, if not all, of those. So if you want to check your Substack accounts to see if you've received your free annual upgrade, please do. And if any problems, of course, just contact me. It'll come to me directly through the Substack, and I will be able to fix it up for you. So thanks for watching. Now, continuing on now, we've also learnt today that Anne Burrell, the celebrity chef who passed away recently at the age of 55. Her death has sadly been reported as a suicide. Very, very sad, of course, that these things can happen even today. And, of course, this is the time when we've known that so many people have suffered immensely. And it just doesn't ever seem to be the sadness that a solution such as this is ever the way to go. But we're just seeing more and more of it, which is just horrific. And our hearts go out to her family, of course. A shocking story nonetheless, no matter who this happens to. Now, moving on in today's show, look, I want to bring up something now. If we go back to Australia, and we're going to have a little bit of a chuckle at the punchline to this next story. But George Christensen shared this today on his Facebook, and I encourage people that if you'd like to subscribe to George Christensen's Substack at Nation First. It is incredibly informative. George is a brilliant journalist and a very big supporter of the movement that is known as the Freedom Movement, etc., but a wealth of knowledge. Well, he shared this because this is an article, an op-ed that was published by Michael McCormack, who in fact is a sitting member of Parliament for the Nationals. And if we fast forward down the bottom, he said, into the second column, he says, last week, more than 200 Bowning and district residents crammed inside their community hall to hear the proponents of renewable energy projects spruik their stuff. It didn't go down well. Locals are devastated. But because Wind Prospects proposal has what is called a state significant development status, any local considerations are ridden roughshod over. The Federal Minister for Ruining the Regions, Chris Bowen, could not care less. He's an embarrassment, and his rush to renewables as the driver to net zero is a fraud. The good folk of Bowning are not alone. Nearby Binalong is also at the mercy of the wind tower takeover. It's a similar story at Crookwell. Further west, RFS volunteers have told farmers they won't respond if a battery storage system near Mangapla goes ahead and catches fire due to fears over the toxicity of the flames. At Bookham, Grigadoo and Maxwell, also in the Riverina, which is where McCormack represents, they're up in arms about unwanted renewable projects looming large on their doorstep. Enough is enough, Federal MP for Riverina, Michael McCormack. Well, tell you what I'm going to do now is give you the ultimate dose of Australian reality, telling you like it is. Now, word of warning, cover your ears in part. I haven't done the bleeps, but this is old school Crocodile Dundee Australia telling you all about the green energy situation right now in this country. Have a look.
What does the future look like regarding electrification and battery electric vehicles in your mining operations then?
Well, we have coal because we've got the biggest coal deposits in the world, but we're not allowed to burn the fucking stuff, so the world's rooted, really. It's all right to be idealistic, but you also have to be realistic. And until the lights go out, the idiots that want to be green on everything and not do mining, not do coal, not do anything, they're going to have to go back and use candles and live in tents, and then they'll No, you might fucking laugh, but it's true. You understand what I'm talking about? I'm not talking bullshit, I'm talking reality. No. If we don't get realistic, we're fucked. It's as simple as that. We're not allowed to use uranium. We've got the biggest uranium deposits in the world in Australia. We're not allowed to mine the fucking stuff. So it's all fucked. So when half these cunts die, well, the world will be a better place, and then those of us that survive will get it going again.
Well, you just... That's an no.
My next door neighbour, I was talking to him, he's a lawyer, so he's not an idiot. Well, he is a fuckwit, but that's another problem. But he said, oh, that's right, you just put plugs along the highways. I said, but if you haven't got a fucking source from a power station, plugs on the highways aren't going to do jack shit, right? Do you understand me? The people don't understand. They think the electricity comes out of fucking space. But if you haven't got a charging system, which is a steam coal burning power station, how the fuck can you charge your batteries? Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand.
Well, there's a lot of the cunts don't, and that's the problem with the world.
Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of the visit.
We will. Yeah. We'll enjoy it eventually.
Well, that was the official video from the Australian Tourism Association. Come on down. How about that? That is as Australian as you can get, calling it like it is. But there is a groundswell now of people realising that the green energy solution is nothing but, and the hive-mindedness doesn't hold out. And the reality is we need energy, and the current systems that are being told to us aren't cutting it, and people have had enough. And I love the fact that the Nationals are taking it on, and videos like that are getting millions of views around the world, and well worth sharing. And you're right, it is gold. Good on you. Thank you, Danny. And of course, from Belinda as well. Good on him. Love it. How about that? You don't get more Australian than that. And thanks for the comments there. Really appreciate it on the show today. Now, meanwhile, in other Australian news, this is an example of the second style of advertising coming out of the Australian government. Take a look at this. This is Senator Tony Sheldon proving that politics is really the show business for ugly people.
Excuse me, what are you listening to?
So what was that?
What are you listening to?
Oh, Labor's new hit, 20% off HEX debt.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, and actually, you should listen to another one. It's fantastic. The new single, Penalty Rates Protected for Millions of Australians. It'll be a classic tune.
Check it out. Thank you.
Labor's new hit, 20% off HEX debt.
Includes the bloopers. There you go. Tony Sheldon and the Labor government. I suppose that's what you do when there's 93. If you're sitting there in 150 seats, you've got to do something to look like you're doing something. But this is it. We saw yesterday the dances going on. We've seen One Nation being standing up for not wanting to welcome to country, being admonished by the Greens. And this is what's going on now. Parliament has become the stage, if you will. And meanwhile, those doing the real business and the real bidding for the Australians, Michael McCormack, good job there. Now, also heading over to other news now, when you think about with the HEX debt, for example, so what we're being told is that there's going to be a 20% reduction in the HEX debt balances of those people that have the debts, which is great, right? That perfect 20% discount. The problem is that Labor PM Paul Keating invented HEX. He set up the indexing of it and allows effectively virtually unlimited overseas full-paying students to come in and study here in Australia. Created a massive industry. Now, I went to university in the 90s, and the University of New South Wales campus was massive. Fast forward 15 years, and it's surrounded by high-rise buildings, unlimited infrastructure, and it becomes effectively almost its own. I mean, it's its own state, if you will. It can do whatever it wants. It's got unlimited money, etc. But the problem is that the kids have to pay massive amounts of money to go to university, and then the government is giving a 20% rebate. So the next generation of Labor governments, realising that maybe their voters aren't happy enough, despite the fact that they're being sent to indoctrination centres, despite the fact that they expect to come out and work for 5 minutes and get a six-figure salary and not do a hell of a lot. But the problem is that the previous generation of HEX debt payers that paid off their debts effectively have now got to put their hand in their pocket to contribute to consolidated revenue to pay off the HEX debts of this generation. Is it fair? Is it reasonable? Or is it just one of these scenarios that's kind of obvious that what Labor is doing is feeding that generation to say, well, we'll always vote for Labor because you gave us a great handout. And if you have a $30,000 or a $40,000 HEX debt, an $8,000 or $6,000 discount haircut, it's pretty good, isn't it? So this is the problem that we keep having, that we are watching the favoritism of the system working against us. But is it enough? I don't think that it's enough to be proud of, to come in and say, well, we set up the debt and now we're giving a discount, so aren't we good? It's the government serving itself, of course, and there lies the problem. Now, meanwhile, if we continue with probably we'll get down to what would be the final story for today's show, just to bring you an update on everything that we heard about in relation to Tulsi Gabbard coming out yesterday in probably the biggest story, really, in our lifetimes, the magnitude. If you consider that in the White House press briefing room, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, the highest ranking officer in intelligence in the United States, was asked if Barack Obama, the former president, number 44, had committed treason. If you can even ask that question, you are a long way down in terms of big trouble coming for that president and, of course, all the people that facilitated what was going on. So let me show you something. This is an op-ed that was published today. It says Fox News publishes op-ed warning Tulsi Gabbard's Obama accusations are a dangerous effort to rewrite history. So, on the surface, of course, the Democrats would be jumping on it. Fox News publishing this op-ed warning Tulsi Gabbard, etc. So, what would a normal human being do? If you're a Democrat, you'd share it. And if you're anyone else that wants to know what's going on, you'd open the article. Well, let's read the first sentence of it. Fox News published a searing op-ed by Ned Price, a former Biden official, accusing Director of Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard of spreading misinformation about the 2016 election to deflect from scandals facing the Trump administration in an effort to rewrite history. So in other words, they've doubled down on the fact that all this evidence was put out there, and you don't become the Director of National Intelligence, a former congressional member for the Democrats, a former Democrat presidential nominee, and, of course, a colonel in the military, even if it is the military reserve, and come out and make claims. But if you're Ned Price and you work for the Biden administration, you can say whatever you want. So fascinating again that this is where we are, and this is the manipulation that is going on in what we're seeing, the biggest stories of all time. And Ghislaine Maxwell has met with the Deputy Director of the Department of Justice, or the Deputy Attorney General, and whether she's spilling the beans or singing or she's going to come out and confirm something, this is where we are today. It is massive, massive news. And the last story that I want to play for, it's a video clip before we go. This is going back to 2016, Democrat Minority Leader Harry Reid pretty much telling you or projecting what was going to happen all along. Take a look at this clip and we'll come back and conclude.
He's the nominee for the party, and he's entitled to briefings from the CIA, for example. I said publicly, give him fake briefings. Pretend you're briefing him. Don't tell him anything that you don't want to get out.
But as a Republican nominee, isn't he entitled to get those briefings?
Give him fake briefings.
What does that even mean?
It means they'll tell him stuff. He won't know the difference.
You're basically telling the intelligence community to lie to him.
No, I'm not going to lie to you, but I just don't have to tell you everything. I said publicly, give him fake briefings.
Give him fake briefings. And now the hammer has fallen, and those that have tried to manipulate the system and treat the 45th president of the United States, and now the 47th, with contempt, as if he is some aberration from this particular scenario that is holding the office of the president of the United States. If that doesn't tell you there's a deep state right there, and they are telling you straight out, I didn't lie, he said. I just told you how it was going to be, which was to lie to the president. This is how far down the rabbit hole we have come, and how far we are, or how close we are to the very end. So we'll watch on with what's happened. I wanted to give you this brief update, which is about half the normal show's length, but of course there's not the commentary that you would otherwise get, and keep going. Now, I will make those announcements as soon as I've got them in black and white for you, but I'm very excited that we are going to work together with other people and to create very informative news, analysis, etc., that will be able to go around the world on different platforms in different ways to build the audience once again. And for those of you that have decided to come across to jasonqcitizen.substack.com, thank you for your time and also for being a part of this journey that we are on. The only way forward is to improve, to challenge, to debate, and to keep talking. And nothing is off the table, unless, of course, it incites violence or absolute hatred. These are the things that are unacceptable, of course, and nothing's ever going to change there. But it's important, nonetheless, that we always maintain our free speech. There you go. So thanks, everyone, for watching. Have a great weekend. And look out on Monday night. I'll be interviewing Trevor Loudon, which I'm really looking forward to, about our Prime Minister. And we will then confirm other events from there. See you all on the next show.